Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to another thrilling episode of Beyond Balance Sheet. I am your host Esha Nadeem. Today I have a very dynamic and accomplished guest with me. He is not only a chartered accountant but also a TSA alumni. He has been working in one of the leading company PwC and now he's working at GSK. So let's straight dive into his journey. A warm welcome to Muhammad Sarwar. Assalamu alaikum Sarwar. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah, I am well. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm really good. Firstly, thank you for giving us your precious time.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Welcome. Okay, Sarwar, the very first question I want to ask you is that what inspired you the most that you pursue CA?
Okay, so for this question, there's a story of mine I would like to share. So my own father, Alhamdulillah, is also an FCA. So pursuing CA was like carrying a family legacy for me.
Yeah.
And so yes, starting from the very initial days, my family already had plans of trying to had plans that I pursue CA. My grandmother used to say the same, that I would be doing CA like his father. So yes, it was like that. But I did not step into the CA only on the basis of that, because I think it becomes a little bit, not impossible, but yes, a little bit difficult for one to pursue something when
Yeah.
he himself is not determined to it or does not have the call for doing it from inside. Yes, so I remember at the time of matriculation, after having crossed the 8th grade, when we have to opt what subject to choose for the 9th and metric. So at that time, my family and I decided that let's pursue computer science at this stage so that we can have open
You have
paths
done
for
computer science.
in matriculation.
Oh God.
So in order to keep other paths as well open at that stage, so that we can take the final decision later on. So yes, I opted computer science, but later on, when the studies got started, so the two different subjects in the computer science and matriculation are the chemistry and physics. So I would say I was a good student even before that as well, and during those periods as well. And I would say I tried my level best, made all the hard work for the chemistry and physics as well. But specifically chemistry, I remember that like in my current journey as well, obviously there is a preference to cover all the subjects and all the topics, right, and not to leave anything on luck or anything. So at that time as well, I would say I made all my efforts, but still I exactly even remember the thought process or the feelings which I had when I had the chemistry question paper in my hand, that I still there was a one question with, I would say, a significant marks, and I was not able to exactly pick that up because it was a little bit difficult.
And how
But
you
yes,
cope with it?
in the examination, you have to cope up with it, because if you get under the pressure from one particular question, you make your situation even worse, because you are not able to perform well in the other questions as well, which you think you are prepared for. So it was, I would say, dealt with accordingly, the best possible way. But yes, again, I would say the overall percentage which I got in ninth was not up to the mark or up to my own expectations which I
Yes.
had. And the one of the factors upon it, there were other factors as well, but a major factor for that was my chemistry marks actually. So when I had my ninth results in my hand, that was the moment I felt like, no, when that was the moment that when I first realized that yes, this is actually real. What people usually say, that you should do what makes you feel accomplished from inside. It was not something I was doing with the concept of making to satisfy my family or anything. I made all my efforts as well, but yes, the kick you get from inside
Yeah.
while doing the things which interest you and which you yourself think are made for yourself. So I think that was the moment that I finally decided, yes, the commerce I think is the one for me. And then coming forwards at the intermediate level, when I opted commerce in coming to Tabani's college, and yes, then starting the initial concepts of accountancy in our first year as well. So initially learning the debits and credits. So that was the time I felt the kick. Yes, okay, this is the
You
one for
can do
me.
this.
So I would say that was like a good journey. for learning how things are when they actually interest you from inside, and the other way around as well. So yes, this was the journey or
So
story I
was
wanted to share.
That's amazing. So was there anyone who pushed you from back that server you have to do this thing?
I would say that was, as already stated, that being father in the similar field, it was there, I would say, from the family, but not on the pressure side, but I would say a motivational side, that they used to say that yes, you can do it and all.
Yeah.
But again, still, honestly, to share with you another experience of a friend of mine, they are actually two brothers, and their father pushed both of them into this year. So one of them was like fighting, not fight honestly, having a disagreement with his father that no, I want to pursue anything else, and at his stage, okay,
Yeah.
he was the elder one, who is a friend of mine. Okay, so he shared that, but when he disagreed with his father, and it was decided with him that okay, pursue whatever you want, and then he decided no, I will pursue CA, because I wanted it to be my own decision and not to follow someone else's decision.
Yeah.
So he was just sharing a few days back. I met him and he was just sharing experience. He was of the view that his brother is still doing and he's left with few papers. So the difference he was saying, which he can assess in his situation and his brother's situation, was that he just says it was my own decision to pursue it and I did not follow someone else's wants or wishes, and the other way around for his brother. So these are the things, and I believe myself as well that this is real, that it has an impact mentally. You are not
Yeah.
able to focus that much, which you can when it is your decision to get into something, because when there are times when things sometimes go south, that do not go things do not go as expected. So at
Yes.
that time, if it's your own decision, you owe up to it like no way else, and that at that moment you are better focused on the remedies as well, instead of blaming
Which
anybody.
sort of remedies?
Yes. So sorry.
Which sort of remedies?
Uh, Specific to this scenario, I would say with remedies, I meant if a person is not able to get through his examination at an attempt, so it takes a lot of, I would say, motivation
Yes.
to push oneself to stand once again, go into the play, go through the concepts once again, find his own mistakes, because that this thing which I am just saying is, I would say a person is more motivated to do it if there is nothing in his mind related to blaming or something. Because when it
Yes.
is the scenario the other way around, a person sometimes gets to the decision that maybe somebody was the one to push me in there, and that is why this is always happening for me. So that is, it's not obviously 100% scenario. I'm not stating facts. It is my own point of views. There are numerous cases the other way around as well. I even know people even, just to share, I remember that some of, I don't exactly remember which teacher, but some of the teacher at TSA even shared that there was a student who just came to him, an intermediate student, asking, sir, what should I be doing going forward?
Oh,
So
really?
yes, so accordingly, like every teacher, he just started asking him questions, what interests him and all. So as a response, he just shared, sir, just tell me which field could be the most potentially good for me with respect to the financial aspect. And then sir said, yes, started
Okay, the
accountancy is
motivation was money
yeah,
or?
yes, it depends. That's what my point is. It just
Yeah.
depends. So just sir suggested him, you can see as also one of your options, and he opted due to that, and he got qualified as well. So my point being that motivation is in from oneself own. When motivation is from person's own self, then person keeps on doing it, and no matter what it is, it could be self achievement, it could be the financial one, like the scenario which we just discussed. But my point is, or my only obviously point of view, anybody can differ and have own point of views, but in my point of views, when that motivation or that kick is in from oneself, its own kick, so that's better to flourish and
That's
through the
so
process.
nice. Okay, you completed your CA journey along with your articleship, which is a very remarkable achievement. So, what were your strategies and habit that you followed? Kindly like share.
Yes, this is something honestly I like keep sharing with as much as possible through the to the juniors at the firm and other students if any I encounter, be it TSA or anywhere else. So to be honest with you, it was not something like I did not encounter any failure or anything. There were hiccups which I encountered in the initial stages as well, and another attempt as well. But my obviously focus and preference was to get through all the papers within the articleship period. So I just tried to keep that as my motivation and my goal. So things or experiences to share, I would say the only thing which all these final teachers always share, the other teachers always share, is
Yes.
consistency, I would say. Our all final teachers always used to say that consistency is the key. If you're not consistent, the chances of you getting through are comparatively lower, because it's honestly a little bit difficult to manage things along. There is a whole lots of responsibilities from the firm's perspective due to stringent deadlines that have to be met. Back to back clients once get a lot of students and juniors just complain that we are not getting time. So we just have need to manage,
Yes.
work along with the studies, and just try to make time daily. Lots of students think that okay, we can work for Monday to Friday and we can focus on
Yes.
our studies on the weekends. But sometimes weekends need also to be stretched along with the work, and they said this okay, this whole week went through without studying. So in order to avoid that, the consistency comes into play, that if you at least take around 1.5 to 2 hours daily. And then when I say things like these, usually the students start to argue that it's easy to say things like these and very difficult to practically manage. And honestly, that is, I totally agree with them.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is really easy to say, okay, consistent efforts. The solution to your problem is consistent efforts. But when it comes to practically implying that, it's
It's tough.
sometimes, yes, it's tough, but doable, I would say. There are 24 hours in a day, 8 hours a week, a day per the business working hours. And even if we stretch it, like if a person is getting to the office by 9, not practically, there is not 9 usually in the firms, in where it's a little bit flexible, 10, 10:30, let's say. And even if considering the stretched working hours, even if a person is working till 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. as well, even in that stage as well, getting to home and taking 1.5 to 2 hours at least to study. And obviously I understand that mind is not that much focused at that time, but what at least I used to do, instead of making doing practice or anything, I just used to avail that time for taking classes. Obviously there is a lot of classes, and having the flexibility of recorded lectures
So
these
you
days.
prefer classes more than practicing?
No, it's not about a preference. I would say those have to go side by side. Both are important. Classes with respect to getting and understanding the better concepts. Obviously, classes are not necessary at that stage, but there are some subjects in which obviously the teachers as well prefer that take classes, because it's get difficult, because it's not the situation like the students had circumstances in CAF, right? They have like whole day only to focus on the studies and classes. It's not like that anymore. You have to focus on your work as well. So for some subjects it is preferred to at least take classes first and then get into the practice. So yes, I would say the consistent efforts and preferring to complete your at least classes before the start of the examination leaves. A lot of students do that, they just focus on their work and keep delaying the studies till, yes, we will do it in examination leaves. And what examination leaves we get? A month, maybe a slightly more than a month. It's not it's not, I would say, not impossible, but it is
Yes.
really difficult to cover wholesome starting from the classes. A person cannot expect himself to complete classes from the initiation till the completion, and then he will start practicing it, and then he will practice the examinations. That is also a key which a lot of teachers obviously every time prefer, but students sometimes does not focus at that much. That is really important to practice examination, not examination, what I meant, the examinations environment. Practice the examination environment earlier. What do I mean by
That's
that
so
is,
true.
yes, we have obviously these days past examination papers. You have it, you know what time was allotted to those students for doing that paper. So why not you can allot some specific time for you as well, to put on the clock timer in your mobile phone, put it somewhere, be focused for 3 hours or 3.5 hours, whatever it is needed, to be cognizant of how are you going to feel in that examination scenario. Obviously, the questions are going to be different, the topics are going
Yes.
to be different, but the scenario, the overall time period, the number of questions, the number of marks, those are going to be consistent, right? So having a pre-preparation for that, that is something needs to be focused, and that's really fruitful as well, I would say.
Wonderful. Okay, Sarwar, you have worked in one of the leading firm, PwC, and now you are currently working in GSK. So, what is the change that you felt?
Yes, change, I would say a significant change, not only a change, because first of all, I would say it's a shift of the side of the desk when we are considering it as auditors. So it's obviously the verification perspective and all, making the inquiries, checking it, and the most significant change in my point of view, which I felt, was the materiality factor.
Oh, really?
Obviously, as auditors, we have that materiality in mind, that we, if we come across even something, and if it is like below some is the minimum materiality level, which we consider that if even as anything is identified, but if it is below some, it can be ignored, right? So we work with that perspective and only consider on things which are material to us. But when it comes to the industry, and there is many other than obviously statutory reporting,
Yes.
talking about the monthly and other reportings. So in that there is management reporting, and in that materiality factor is not there. So the persons who are responsible for the numbers, and actually the business partners and the
Yes.
other senior persons, I meant. So they are usually very, I would say, not flexible. They are very they have a very stringent point of view about their numbers, I would say, and they do not consider any materiality as well, and any a little change or any variation if they get, which it is they were not expecting or anything, there is some noise about it and some discussions about it as well. So that is something, I would say, the real change which I felt, other than obviously the shifting of the desk, not considering from the perspective of auditors now, and considering myself as a part of the management itself. So that was a change in itself. But other than that, these were the things which I noticed and felt, and that would say that was also a wholesome and new experience for me.
Okay, the most demanding questions that student mostly ask, that what are the misconceptions about CA field that you want to share to the students?
Yes, the misconceptions, I would say, in an earlier podcast recorded as well of Salman, the things he identified, I totally agree with him. Those are the usually related things, that if a student is doing CA, he will only be doing CA. His life would be nothing other than that. He
Yes,
would not be
exactly.
there with his friends in any events. He will not be playing. So things like these, I would say, have been cliched by now, because things have changed. The younger generation which is coming is quite smarter now. They are now honestly able to manage things way better than we did, and the people before us did. Okay, so again, if you are consistent with everything, you give duly time to studies as well, then you would be able to give due time to your own activities as well, I would say, because you need to actually divide your day, and you need to set your preferences, what actually your preferences are. If I just share my own point of view, I would say, if the work pressure is there,
Yes.
considering the working hours are getting extended as well, so in order to, we not only have to balance the, not only the work life balance here, but also there is another factor of study as well, which we need to balance, obviously. So considering that, there are three factors which we are currently balancing, right? Work, studies, and the other activities related to entertainment, I meant.
Yes.
So these three things, I would say, need to be balanced. One thing you can, obviously, that will be balanced itself, I would say, work. Obviously, those, that is something
Yes.
that will not be an option for you either to do it or not. Okay, so having said that, the remaining hours you need to prioritize. Obviously, in a working day, the time, the free time for yourself which you would be getting, that would be quite minimal, maybe 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so that is your preference. How I used to deal it. I used to get invest the any time which I get during the weekdays to my studies, and then in the weekend I used to balance it accordingly in my other activities, whatever I'm used
What are
me.
your activities that you do?
And during the articleship period, I would say, and having the online classes module, and not continuing with the physical classes and all. So yes, the screen time was, I would say, really increased.
Oh,
How you
yeah. That's the
now
main
getting, yes,
problem.
now getting the classes and everything as well over the screen. The work you are doing in the office is also on the screen. The entertainment you are consuming, YouTube, Netflix,
Screen.
anything, that is also a screen, and not the education is also on the screen. So yes, I think that is something which we need to focus, and we need to work out as well. We need to get some time off the screen as well. Anyways,
But don't you think that in this generation there are a lot of distractions? You are saying
yes,
the people in this generation are more smart. So don't you think that?
I stand by what I said with respect to smart. The younger generation is coming is really smarter, and I'm saying this because I have noticed that there are few things which at our time we used to manage it by really focusing over it. That yes, I need to manage this, I need to do this and that. And sometimes you notice the younger generation doing it like it is nothing and without any focus, and by it is in themselves. So obviously,
Yeah.
as a matter of time, and it is obviously, I would say, a natural process. Things, people are getting smarter. Obviously, the level of technology which we have today, we were not having it in the past days. So it is a natural process. We need to accept it instead of trying to push that no, our generation is the one is the most
Yeah.
smarter. Obviously, it is a natural process. But what we need to do with that perspective, I would say, to do things, the continuous professional development activities, to cope up with the pace of this generation, and not exactly the generation, the real transformation which we have these days with respect to IT and other perspective. Because this is something, if a person does not copes up with that pace, it will be difficult for him to go through the pace of this life and the industry. After maybe 5 to 7 years, it would be depleted. So yes, it is very highly important in these days to be vigilant, have the updates, the latest updates which we have, and even in the firms and the audits as well.
Yes.
Every time and every after a while, there is an update in their systems. There are many new systems. A lot of things are being easily managed today, which earlier there used to be number of hours invested in those tasks. So that is something I think I have that needs to be managed. And with respect to the distractions part which you just mentioned,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know if I should be saying this or not,
You
but
should. You should.
the major source of distraction, again, in my point of view, every viewer, you may not obviously be agreeing with me. That's totally fine, but I have a right to have my own point of views. But many of you should also know that somewhere in your hearts and your minds, that this is reality, that these days the social media and the stories concept, which we have 30 seconds of stories which we get, and we just keep scrolling. Honestly, it wastes a lot of time of ours. And a lots of juniors, when I just discussed with them when I was in the firm, so we used to discuss as I had a habit of whenever my exams were near, I used to uninstall all my social media applications
Oh,
from my
really?
phone, okay, to have a better focus because at least with my case, if I'm getting home, I'm tired, all right, and then if I'm after having some food and I'm getting relaxed, and then if I have my phone in my hand, and if I enter any social media app, be it Instagram, be it Facebook, be it anything, okay, I don't know where the next 1.5 or 2 hours are wasted.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
another, not only that time perspective, but what at least I feel that it leads to a little bit of frustration in the mood as well. I have really been noticing this in my recent days as well, that after having maybe an hour or half an hour of scrolling, if you consider it from the perspective of enjoyment, this is obviously enjoyment, this is a person is consuming content, right? So afterwards his feelings should be fresh, happy, right?
Yeah,
That is what you
exactly.
should expect, but at least for me that is sometimes that is not the case. I don't know why, but it has that impact because scientifically as well, that 30 seconds period that has been put in the stories as well, it has a proper scientific reasons behind it, because it is related to the attention span of a human being. So I don't know what exactly it consumes from my mind, from our mind, having scrolling it for such extended hours. And it's not only my own observation, but I guess at least what I have witnessed over the other platforms, social media, and the other podcasts, or as well, that it is a factor that it leads to frustration and those all things. So I think that has to be managed, and for all the students, they should be managing it, because instead of, because what in a working day, I guess maybe a person have maybe 2 to 3 hours of himself, and even if those are wasted on random social media scrolling, so that is getting wasted, that is not getting invested on him own self, and not even on his studies. Many juniors used to argue that no, that is our time and we also need some time off work, we need to relax. But in my point of views, if you want to relax, social media should not be the one. You can consume content, I'm not against that, but when you are consuming some content, you are also learning something from it
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
The
You're
genre
right.
you are choosing, that is what pleases you. So I think that is something time a little bit invested, because you learn something from it as well. But social media, and again, in my own point of views, I'm not implying anything on anybody, but that is something in my personal point of view, honestly a waste of time, and I always try to stay away from it as much as I can. I obviously also still use it, it's not something that I say that we shouldn't be using it, but what I'm trying to imply is the usage of it should be limited, and we should also focus on that.
Okay, the very last question, Sarwar, I want to ask you is that what is the key advice that you want to give to the aspiring CA students? Anything?
Okay, key advice. So for this, I would say whenever the students decides to get into CA or maybe ACCA or anything, uh, I would suggest that once you decide, you should be focused towards it. What I mean from that is, I sometimes notice students having opting it, they have their plan B in mind, and I'm not against having a plan B, that should be there, but having carrying their plan B with themselves every time in their mind, that okay, I'm doing this, I'm going to try 2 attempts and let's see how the result goes, and if the results does not go as expected, I will be going towards that way, the other way.
You don't agree with this?
Having, I agree with having a plan B, have it, but then take it out from your mind, keeping it in your bag, your drawer, or anything. It should not be there in your mind all the time. I'm against that. I'm not against having a plan B, but when you are carrying your plan B every time with you, when you are studying, you know, okay, I'm doing this, but there is a chance that if I'm not able to do it, okay, I will do that.
Yes.
I, at least in my, again, my own point of view, what I have noticed, this is not something which a student should be doing, because through this, if person have this in mind, is not able to focus to the extent or I would say the required focus for the studies and to going through. This is something I would really suggest, that whenever you decide of doing something, just get everything else out of your mind, keep your focus on, and only then with that much focus and quite consistent efforts, I think one can achieve anything that one aims for. So that would be my suggestion, I would say.
That's wonderful. And we had a very good conversation together.
Likewise. Likewise.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us and giving us your precious time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, that's all for today. I'll be catching up you guys in the next episode. Till then, take care and Allah Hafiz.